The carriage rocks in a gentle sway, soft as breathing. Outside, rain strings silver threads across the glass, weaving small rivers that drift and merge, then vanish in the dark. I sit alone, coat collar turned up, watching my reflection dissolve into night whenever lightning flickers far away. The hum beneath my feet is steady, low, something ancient, like a lullaby the earth has always sung to things that travel. A tiny station slides past, lamps glowing like lost fireflies in tall grass. No one waits on the platform, no one waves. Only empty benches, shiny with rain, and a single timetable pinned behind fogged plastic. I catch myself wondering who printed that schedule, whether they still believe anyone will stand beneath it tomorrow, reading times by weak yellow light. The train breathes a sigh, metal against metal, easing into deeper quiet. In the next seat, a traveler sleeps with arms folded, cheek pressed to the window. I do not know their name, yet I imagine it might be something soft. Elena, perhaps, or Jonah, names that feel like whispered secrets. Their dreams are hidden behind slow eyelids, but a half-smile lingers as though someone in that dream just offered forgiveness. Rain gathers courage, drumming faster for a moment, then retreating into calm. I remember being 10, riding with my mother on a night much like this. She tapped the glass and counted distant farm lights, saying each one was a wish tucked away in the hills. I tried to count too, but fell asleep before reaching 5, wrapped in the scent of her wool scarf and peppermint tea. Now I looked for those lights again, older and unsure what I would wish for first. More time, perhaps, or the ease to let go of time entirely. The landscape blurs into watercolor. Lines of hedges smear into soft charcoal, and ponds flash like fallen moons between trees. Every so often the horn sounds, long, mournful, carrying across sleeping fields where cattle huddle under birches. I imagine the animals lifting heavy heads, not frightened, only curious, then settling again, unconcerned by human schedules. Inside, lights are dimmed to a gentler gold. Someone farther down the aisle turns a page of a paperback, the sound feather light yet perfectly clear. I think of books left unfinished on my shelf at home, spines that have waited patiently through seasons. Stories can hibernate longer than we realize. They wake when we reach for them, always ready to begin again without reproach. The conductor walks past, shoes brushing the carpet in slow rhythm. He offers a nod, nothing more, as if words might disturb the hush we all share. His badge gleams briefly under the lamp, a small constellation drifting by. I wonder how many nights he has carried strangers through rain, trading daylight for this soft corridor of time. Another memory rises, an old friend, Leo, who loved night trains because they teach you to trust what you cannot see. He would press his forehead to the pane and recite half-remembered poems about rivers and forgotten cities. I lost touch with him after university, letters thinned, birthdays slipped by unnoticed. Yet sometimes, in dreams, we still ride together, laughing at nothing in particular, the way people do when the future seems endless. The carriage settles into an even slower sway now, like a cradle urged by a tired hand. Outside, mist gathers along the fields, a soft quilt tucking seedlings to sleep. I think about time as a circular track. We depart, we return, but never at the same hour nor with the same heart. Regret flickers at the edge of that thought, then fades, replaced by a steady warmth, an understanding that motion itself can be home. Ahead, signals change from red to green, airy glows in the drizzle. We pass another platform. A lone stray dog trots alongside for a few steps, tail wagging as if escorting us onward. I picture someone tomorrow finding paw prints in the mud and wondering who shared the road at midnight. The sleeper near me shifts, sighs, and nestles deeper into the coat collar. I envy that surrender, the courage to let go of waking. Still, wakefulness has its own tenderness. It grants me these small hours to listen. To rain, to wheels, to the secret silence between each sound. Somewhere near the horizon, dawn is quietly rehearsing, but she is courteous. she will wait her turn. We remain inside the blue pocket of night a little longer. I close my eyes and count breaths to the rhythm of the tracks. 1, 2, 3, each softer than the last, like footsteps retreating down a long hallway. Images drift by behind my eyelids. A lantern swinging on a porch, a letter unopened, a child's paper boat floating on a puddle. They do not demand resolution. They simply exist, then glide away. I let them, understanding that not every story needs an ending tonight. The train slows to whisper through a curve, windows glowing faintly in reflection of distant farmhouses. For a heartbeat, I see my face overlapped with the sleeping fields, a gentle reminder that we too are landscapes changing under different weather. Perhaps that is all life asks of us, to accept the seasons within, rain or shine, and keep moving gently toward the next station. Outside, the drizzle lightens, becoming a hush more than a sound. Inside, breaths lengthen, pages pause mid-turn, even the conductor has found a seat. The world feels wrapped in quilted twilight, stitched with tiny stars we cannot see yet but trust are waiting. I lean back, loosen my grip on thought, and allow the motion to cradle me. There will be other nights, other rides, other windows striped with rain. For now, there is only this soft corridor of time, this persistent hush, this endless lullaby of wheels upon rails. And somewhere between here and the next small station, I finally feel the gravity of sleep gather, slow and sure, like dusk closing the last door of day, leaving only quiet and breath, and the promise of another gentle departure. The carriage glides through damp night, and every pane trembles with a thin shimmer of reflected lamps. Rain threads downward in patient lines, steady as breath. I press my hand to the glass. Coolness rises like quiet advice, asking nothing but stillness. Far off, a cluster of farm lights hovers in fog, each bulb a shy lantern above wet grass. Their glow seems older than electricity, as though lit by stories rather than wires. I picture a farmer wiping steam from a kitchen window, counting sleeping calves by lamplight. Inside, most passengers doze, faces turned toward their own unseen horizons. An elderly man across the aisle nods beneath a wool cap, fingers laced over a leather suitcase that has traveled farther than some dreams ever dare. His breathing syncs with the rails, 4 slow beats, then release. I imagine his case packed with handwritten recipes from a spouse he still loves in memory, fudge-stained index cards smelling faintly of vanilla. Perhaps he is heading to meet grandchildren who have never tasted her apple crisp, hoping to pass along more than words. The train hushes into a gentle curve, and droplets chase along the window like children playing tag. Their small races remind me of playground rains when we stayed out too long, hair plastered, laughing because the sky joined in our games. We believed storms existed only for us. Time feels different tonight, rounder, softer, as if its edges were sanded smooth by endless motion. I think of years slipping by the same way these tracks unfurl, unseen but unwavering beneath us. We ride forward without turning a wheel ourselves, trusting the path we cannot quite see. A young woman near the door cradles a violin case against her chest. She looks half awake, half elsewhere, lips counting silent measures. I imagine her stepping onto a dim platform at dawn, rosin dust rising like frost as she tunes beneath a flickering lamp. Perhaps she will play for empty benches, letting notes drift across puddles until morning commuters arrive. The thought feels tender, a gift to the unattended spaces of the world. Music offered not to applause, but to air thick with mist. The click-clack beneath us slows, stretches, becomes a heartbeat heard through layers of blankets. I lean back, letting my shoulders unspool tension kept too long. Work emails, missed calls, unresolved plans, they fall away, flimsy as ticket stubs once the ride has truly begun. Outside, fields spread like charcoal sketches, contours softened by rain. A lone windmill stands motionless, wings at rest, yet I sense stored energy inside its silence. like a breath held until dawn. Even stillness can be a kind of labor. We pass a siding where freight cars wait under sodium lamps. Graffiti blooms on their sides, names, arrows, drifting planets painted by hands that may never board a sleeper train. I wonder if any artist meant their tag as a message for someone riding here tonight. Memory opens a small door. My father driving country roads after dark, headlights catching deer at the tree-line. He would slow whisper, "Look how they freeze," trusting the dark more than the beam. I remember gripping the dashboard, feeling both guardian and intruder in their silent world. Now, as landscape and glass blur, I realize I carry echoes of those evenings. How caution can feel like reverence, how even brief encounters deserve a slower pace. The train honors that instinct, easing into each mile with measured grace. A soft chime signals the midnight hour. No announcements follow. The speaker simply breathes warm static. That faint hush feels like a shawl draped over all of us, an unspoken agreement to let the world spin without comment for a while. I think about letters unsent, apologies rehearsed but never voiced. Regret flickers, but rain taps a soothing counter-rhythm, reminding me that water only falls forward. What matters is direction, not the height from which we begin. The elderly man stirs, adjusts his cap without waking. His suitcase shifts, revealing a travel sticker. Venlo, 1977. I picture him there, younger, maybe dancing beside a canal under orange street lamps, believing the night and future were equally endless. My own reflection drifts over the glass, merging with darkness outside until identity feels porous, like ink seeping into wet paper. Perhaps we are all this way in motion, outlines softening so new colors can bleed through. Another station drifts past. Small shelter, one bench, vending machine humming to itself. No one boards, no one departs. Yet the doors open anyway, letting cool air sweep the aisle like a cautious visitor before they close with a tender sigh. The violinist's eyes now flutter shut. Her case rests against the seat. Her hand still curves around an invisible bow. I imagine the final note of her concert tonight glowing above the strings, refusing to fade until she wakes and claims it. Engine tremors grow gentler, as though the machine has learned to breathe alongside us. I draw a slow inhale, feel eyelids grow heavy, let thoughts thin to single words. Lantern, water, home, each fading between wheel clicks. Sleep approaches like a shoreline. Soft sand, warm tide, no urgency. Somewhere beyond the next black ridge, dawn is polishing its first pale hue. But here inside, we remain wrapped in charcoal and silver, safe in the lull between thunderclaps of day. I close my eyes and let the rails carry every held breath onward, trusting arrival to greet us whenever dreams are done. Rain hushes against the roof, a faint percussion, neither hurried nor slow. The carriage rocks with measured patience, as if reciting an old lullaby. I lean into the motion, feeling it smooth the edges of thought. Beyond the window, fences glide by in brief, pale streaks. Their rails appear, dissolve, reappear, like sentences half remembered from a childhood book. Mist clings to pastures, turning each field into a quiet lagoon of silver grass. Inside, lights are dimmed to amber, gentle on closing eyes. A boy 2 rows ahead sketches in a spiral notebook, pencil moving like a feather. His guardian, perhaps an ant, sleeps upright, head tipped back, mouth open just enough for dreams to drift in. I imagine what the boy is drawing, maybe the soft geometry of barns, or a rain-blotted herd standing haloed in fog. He pauses, looks up, blinks at nothing in particular, then returns to the page. The lead squeaks faintly, the only sharp sound in the car. Across the aisle, an older woman fingers a sealed envelope, edges worn but unbroken. Her thumb traces the stamp with methodical devotion, as though rehearsing a farewell locked inside. She gazes at passing trees but clearly sees something else, perhaps a porch light waiting beyond tomorrow's dawn. The train exhales over a small bridge, wheels clacking slower, deeper. Water below flashes once, an oblong mirror split by ripples. For a breath, the windows fill with nothing but river and reflected stars made shaky by rain. I think of a summer night years ago, camping near a creek with friends who spoke of constellations as if they were street names. We laughed at our own certainty, pretended the sky took notes on who believed. Now each raindrop on glass feels like a soft reminder that certainty is overrated and wonder is portable. The conductor passes, steps measured, eyes kind. He lifts a lantern, real glass, warm filament, though overhead bulbs would do. Something about the gesture feels ceremonial, a ritual of gentle guardianship. We slow for an unscheduled stop, just a siding in the dark. No platform, only wet gravel and a single signal light blinking green. Doors stay closed. Still, the train pauses, granting the night a courteous nod before continuing. I breathe in the cool scent of damp wool and distant pine. Somewhere beyond the carriage wall, foxes curl beneath hedges, listening to our muted thunder. Their worlds intersect ours for mere seconds, two parallel lullabies sliding past. The boy's pencil falls silent. He has drifted onto folded arms. His sketchbook lies open, page half filled with soft graphite clouds. They look almost alive, ready to float out of the paper and settle over sleeping passengers. I remember my first long journey alone, age 17, heart loud with plans too fragile to name. Every mile felt like proof that motion could rewrite origins. Yet the farther I traveled, the clearer it became. We bring ourselves everywhere, stitched to our shadows by invisible thread. The woman with the envelope closes her eyes, clutch loosening at last. The letter rests on her lap like a bird perched before flight. I fancy I can hear unwritten words rustling inside, eager for air. Rain softens to a misty patter, more whisper than sound. Drops slide in slow rivulets, merging, parting, forming tiny deltas on the pane. I trace one with my gaze until it disappears at the sill, a liquid comet burning out. The engine's hum lowers, becomes a sustained chord, cello deep. It reverberates through the seats, through bones, through thought. Each vibration seems to say, stay, breathe, release. Outside, a ridge of dark trees stands in patient procession. Headlights sweep over trunks, revealing quick glints of wet bark, then darkness again. I picture those trees holding counsel in the storm, roots exchanging slow news of rain and wind. A memory drifts in, my grandfather sharpening a small pocket knife beside the porch, rain nearby but not yet here. He said blades last longer when treated with respect. Perhaps hearts do too, though the sharpening stone is often silence. The carriage light flickers once, not in warning but as if to nudge us deeper into drowsiness. Faces soften, shoulders slump, even luggage seems to rest easier. We are a temporary village of strangers, bound by quiet intent to arrive gently. Another empty station slides past, sign half lit, benches glossy with drizzle. Somewhere inside those walls, a clock ticks toward no audience. I think of the caretaker who will switch off lights at dawn, never knowing we noticed his small island of glow. Thoughts thin to single images. Lantern, letter, pencil, rain. Each drifts like a leaf on dark water, turning slowly until it vanishes. I do not chase them, I let the current decide. The conductor reappears, dims the aisle lamps one more notch, then tips his cap to the near sleeping cabin. His footsteps fade, replaced by a deeper hush. We have entered that fragile hour when time loosens its belt and sighs. I draw a long breath, tasting cool metal, soft fabric, distant cedar smoke from unseen chimneys. My eyelids lower, rise, lower again, the gap between thoughts widening like calm seas. Somewhere a switch clicks. The heating vents sigh warm air, perfumed with faint ozone. The boy murmurs in his sleep, a single syllable with no clear meaning. The woman lets go of her envelope. It slips into the seat corner, safe for morning. Outside, the rain stops altogether, leaving silence so pure it rings. We glide through that silence, wheels almost ghostly on the rails. Fields stretch in moonlit gray, dew forming where storm has passed. It feels as though the world itself is pausing for breath, resetting its heartbeat. I allow my own to match it, slow, steady, unhurried. Thought settles like dust after a closing door. In this hush, regret seems soluble, hopes quietly durable. Sleep gathers at the edges, soft as the first lightning of sky behind distant hills. I don't resist, I let it fold over me layer by layer like warm wool stacked gently. Just before surrender, I whisper a silent promise to remember the softness of this ride whenever daylight grows too sharp. The train continues, steadfast, into deeper country and softer dark. Windows mirror nothing now but dreams forming inside. And in the cradle of forward motion, we all drift, sketchbooks, letters, memories, into a night that holds us without question, until morning taps lightly on the glass. The rain has thinned to a lace of droplets, nearly silent against the roof. Only the muffled hiss of wheels and a faint electric hum keep time. I watch rivulets curve downward, tracing delicate shapes across the glass. Brief constellations dissolving before they're fully born. A low ridge emerges from darkness, its silhouette soft as charcoal smudged by a careful thumb. Sparks of farmhouse lamps blink on the crest, measured and few, like notes held long in a lullaby. They seem arranged by invisible hands, some private geometry meant only for night travelers. I let my eyes wander from one glow to the next, stitching a gentle arc of quiet between them. Inside the carriage, most seats cradle sleep. Coats become makeshift blankets, scarves transform into pillows, breaths mingle with the slow pulse of motion. Overhead bulbs dim to amber-cast halos on bowed heads, reminding me of chapel pews after Vespers. Even my own reflection looks half-ghost, a faint outline surrendering its edges to shadow. Across the aisle, a middle-aged man cups a battered thermos in both hands. Steam no longer rises from its lip, yet he cradles it as though warmth remains hidden in the metal. His eyelids flutter but do not close. I imagine he's counting stations backward, measuring distance from a place he chose to leave. Perhaps he taught history at a small-town school, chalk dust still lodged in his coat seams. Maybe tonight's ride is a quiet turning of a page, retirement, a new coast, or simply a visit long delayed. In his pocket, I picture a key on an unfamiliar ring, cold, promising, a little frightening. He rolls the key between thumb and forefinger, feeling tomorrow's door before he reaches it. We sway through a gentle curve. The rails sing a softer chord. Outside, a pond flashes by, reflecting nothing but the dark, a smooth pane of forgotten glass. For an instant, the train lights shimmer across its surface like roaming stars, then vanish. I wonder who might wake before dawn to find ripples still moving, evidence of our passing etched in water. My thoughts drift to childhood car rides at dusk, my brother and I pressing noses to windows, naming shapes in clouds. We believed each shape foretold a secret: castle, balloon, sleeping dog. Tiny prophecies we never wrote down yet always trusted. Growing older taught me clouds are only water and wind, but part of me still waits for their whispered advice. The rain returns, soft but insistent, tapping a steadier rhythm. It reminds me of my grandmother shelling peas on the porch, seeds clicking against a metal bowl. She used to say repetition is comfort, kneading dough, rocking a chair, riding a train at midnight. I feel the truth of that now, each wheel stroke kneading the hours into something tender. A young couple sits near the door, knees almost touching, hands entwined in shared sleep. Their heads lean inward until foreheads meet, forming a quiet arch. I sense they're returning from a small celebration, perhaps an engagement whispered beneath cafe lights. The sparkle on her ring flashes when the carriage passes a signal lamp, then hides again beneath lazy shadows. Signals blink red, then green, then fade. We slow for a way station. Only a single shelter and a row of newspaper dispensers wrapped in plastic. The doors slide open though no one stands outside. Night air curls in, scented with wet cedar and clay. It carries the hush of distant trees, the same hush that settles in cathedrals after the final hymn. I picture the station master asleep in a nearby cottage, boots by the door, hat on the peg. Maybe a kettle waits on the stove for the 2 a.m. freight he must greet. Unseen caretakers hold entire routes together, linking journeys we think are solitary. Their quiet labor hovers everywhere, like the faint warmth left by a departing hand. The train draws breath, then moves on. Rain threads backward across the windows, a gentle undoing of distance. Somewhere, a signal bell rings once, soft, courteous, then silence folds over the sound. We settle deeper into the night, as though tucking an extra blanket around ourselves. I rest my head against the seat. Fabric smells faintly of lavender cleaner and something older, maybe coal dust embedded from decades ago. It's comforting to know this carriage remembers more nights than I ever will. Memories cling to its corners like dried blossoms pressed between pages. Drowsiness arrives in small waves, receding, returning, smoothing sand. Thoughts slow to the pace of breathing, in, out, land, sky. The world narrows to steady cadence, gentle sway, soft rain. I feel the luxury of unhurried time, a gift easily misplaced in daylight. Outside, fog gathers in low meadows, luminous under passing lamps. It pools like spilled milk, blurs fences, erases sharpness from the earth. I think of mistakes I once feared would remain forever etched. Perhaps fog visits memories too, softening edges, offering mercy. Not erasure, just kinder outlines. The man with the thermos finally shuts his eyes. His shoulders loosen, grip slackens. The key slips deeper into his coat pocket, forgotten for now. I sense the future pausing respectfully, allowing him these minutes of drift unburdened by decisions. Tomorrow can wait at the end of the line. The couple's hands remain linked, but their breathing syncs with the rails, slower, slower. Their shared dream seems to glow, something like a lantern set between them, pulsing gold. It lights the aisle more gently than any bulb overhead. I let that imagined light guide my own eyelids downward. Only the rain, the engine's hum, the faint creak of metal join me now. Words thin to syllables, syllables to breath, breath to silence. I feel myself settling into that silence as sand settles after the tide pulls back. No urgency, no final punctuation, just a long, mellow ellipsis expanding through the night. Somewhere beyond the next rise, dawn is stirring coals of pale blue, rehearsing its entrance. Yet here, darkness remains tender, wrapping us in slow velvet folds. I surrender to it, knowing the train will carry me whether I watch or sleep. And as my thoughts dissolve into the hush, one soft certainty remains. We are all gentle passengers on a larger rail, moving through seasons and shadows, guided by small distant lights arranged in quiet geometry, each glow reminding us that night itself is an open hand, steady, patient, ready to cradle whatever dreams we dare to set down. The train drifts through wet dark like a low-lit thought, unhurried, half-remembered. Rain beads along the window, gathering weight, then sliding down in silver threads. Each drop leaves a fleeting path, a delicate script the night alone can read. Beyond the glass, field after field lies flattened under mist, scent of damp hay rising. Fence posts emerge, vanish, emerge again, solemn sentries marking distance no one measures aloud. Now and then a cow lifts its head, moonlight pooling in watchful eyes before receding. Inside, the carriage hums with blanket warmth, a cradle fashioned from steel and soft upholstery. Overhead bulbs glow a muted amber, just bright enough to reveal quiet profiles. We strangers share this pocket of motion the way sleepers share a shared dream, aware yet content not to speak. Across from me, a teenager leans against a guitar case, earbuds tucked tight. A faint rhythm leaks out, not enough to disturb, just enough to suggest hope. I picture the chords he'll strum tomorrow on a riverbank stage, water glinting beneath footlights. When I close my eyes, memory drifts back to college open mic nights. Sticky floors, borrowed amplifiers, the smell of coffee too burnt to drink. We believed applause could save us from the ordinary, if only for 3 minutes. The train slows, inhaling, then releases a sigh of brakes near an abandoned siding. No station sign remains, just cracked concrete steps where weeds bow under rain. A rusted bicycle leans against a lamppost that no longer lights, yet looks reluctant to quit its watch. We do not stop completely. Wheels continue their soft litany, question, answer, question. Even half pauses feel generous, as though offering night a moment to catch up. I sense the countryside listening back, grateful for the company of passing souls. Seat fabric presses warm against my shoulder. I surrender a fraction deeper, letting gravity redistribute the day's weight. Emails, errands, small arguments all slide farther away as if rain is rinsing them. A little girl 2 rows ahead sleeps curled like a comma between paragraphs. Beside her, an older woman, grandmother maybe, strokes damp bangs from the child's brow. The tenderness feels radiant, an ember glowing through wool coats and polished armrests. I remember my own grandmother folding paper cranes on quiet Sundays, her hands papery yet certain, each crease precise, each wing a whispered blessing. She believed birds carried wishes farther than prayer alone could travel. Outside, a lone house flashes past, single window lit, curtains drawn. Someone inside reads by lamplight, unaware their solitude rides along with us for a heartbeat. I imagine the turning page, the slow nod of contentment when a sentence lands just right. The conductor appears, checking tickets with gentle courtesy, voice kept to a hush. When he reaches my row, I hand over the slip. His fingers brush mine, warm and sure. That brief contact feels like affirmation. Yes, you are here, you are traveling, you are allowed to rest. He moves on, boots soft on carpet, lantern reflecting in rain-washed panes. The rhythm of his steps lulls thought towards stillness, each footfall a smaller ripple. Soon only engine breath remains, deep and even, a metronome for dreams. Mist thickens outside, turning hedgerows into charcoal smears. Signal lights pierce the fog like modest stars, guiding us through unseen curves. I trust them implicitly, though I could not retrace a single mile come morning. Trust, such a fragile, necessary currency. We invested in tracks beneath us, in engineers unseen, in time itself. Perhaps the hardest trust is believing that what slips away might return gentler. The teenager's head now nods. His music pauses, phone dark in his lap. I imagine one last chorus looping softly inside, cradling him into sleep. His guitar case glints under dim light, wood grain hinting at songs unborn. The train leans into another bend, slower, slower still. Metal sings against metal, a hush within the hush, stretching time thin. I match my breathing to the curve, letting exhale linger until lungs empty sweetly. We pass a marsh where reeds sway despite wind I cannot feel. Their silhouettes ripple like brushstrokes on ink-dark water, patient, ancient. Frogs might be calling there, but glass and rain dampen every distant voice. Thought slides to a friend I lost touch with after moving cities twice. He mailed postcards for a while, sketches of bridges, crowded markets, rooftop gardens at dusk. The last card simply read, "Wish you could see this view for yourself someday." I never replied. Tonight, regret lies soft, not sharp, like sea glass polished by tide and time. Maybe I will write him tomorrow, attach a photo of this blurred moon over wet fields. The little girl stirs, whispers a single word, unclear, lilting, and nestles deeper. Her grandmother's eyes close too, heads tilting together like twin petals at evening. The moment feels sacred, though no ritual declares it so. Rain eases further, droplets now sparse, individual, deliberate. Each one strikes like a quiet drumbeat, then slides away unnoticed. I watch until lashes grow heavy, the pattern too subtle to follow. In this slowing world, minutes lengthen, thoughts elongate, edges round off. If time is a fabric, someone is loosening its weave, letting threads breathe. We sink between those threads, held without pressure, suspended without fear. A faint announcement crackles. Next stop 40 minutes on, then dissolves into static. No one stirs. We have all agreed to postpone arrival until dreams finish drafting. The silence afterward feels richer, as though words only cluttered the calm. I rest my palm on the window, feel cool glass steady my pulse. Beyond, the countryside offers nothing new, and that is comfort itself. Fences, fog, an occasional star unwilling to sleep. Sleep, yes. The word rolls through me like warm tide, erasing footprints from inner sand. I follow its pull, letting eyelids drop, scene flicker, fade. Somewhere ahead, a bridge spans a river whose name I'll never learn. We will cross it without waking, faith tethered to rails in rain-drenched night. And on the far bank, dawn will gather its colors, patient, unhurried, ready to greet us when lids lift and silver threads turn to gold. Rain lingers like a shy guest, tapping faint rhythms on the carriage roof. Drops travel downward in slow races, leaving brief mirror ribbons on the window pane. Each ribbon bends, joins another, then disappears as though teaching me to let go. The train hums beneath my feet, a velvet tremor moving bone and thought. Steel wheels carve a low, continuous chord, soft enough to blur the hours. I lean into the sound, feeling it smooth every sharp corner inside me. Outside, hedgerows drift past in hazy strokes of charcoal and cobalt. Misty halos cling to fence posts, making everything appear lightly sketched, half-finished. I imagine an unseen artist trailing behind, dark pencil in hand, completing nothing on purpose. We pass a water tower streaked with rust, letters peeling, light blinking once. That solitary blink feels like a nod from the countryside, a small assurance that someone or something is awake with us. Most passengers doze, swaddled in coats and muffled dreams. Across the aisle, a woman cradles a small bouquet of wildflowers wrapped in newspaper. Petals tremble with each curve, yet not a single stem breaks. I picture her traveling to a father she seldom visits, hoping the flowers will say the words that years of silence mislaid. In her pocket, maybe a folded photograph, two smiles captured before either learned regret. The carriage lights dim another fraction, turning pages of time more slowly. An older gent in a tweed jacket opens a pocket watch, checks its size. He closes the lid as if shutting a door on a memory that can wait. I wonder whose initials lie engraved on the inner shell. Perhaps the spouse, now gone, who once pressed that watch into his palm, whispering, "So you'll never be late coming home." Home, such a generous word, elastic enough to fit a person, a scent, a song. Tonight my home is this moving room, these gentle strangers, this hush. I carry nothing but a small journal and a pencil dulled from thinking. A soft announcement drifts overhead. Next stop in 30 miles. The voice is kind, almost reluctant to wake anyone. When silence returns, it feels deeper, as though the train itself exhaled. We cross a viaduct. Rain widens to mist, drifting sideways like pale smoke. Below, river currents shimmer under brief splashes of headlight, then vanish. I imagine fish swimming quietly, unbothered by distant thunder of passing dreams. My reflection overlays the darkness, eyes half closed, outline flickering. I watch it soften until face and night trade colors, boundaries fading. Perhaps this is what rest truly is, meeting oneself without edges. A teen near the back seat holds a sketch pad under the aisle lamp. He draws the sleeping carriage, capturing profiles in careful graphite shades. His pencil pauses whenever the train rocks, then resumes, patient as rain. I recall my own adolescence, doodling constellations in the margins of homework. I believe stars could be rearranged at will, if only with enough imagination. Growing older showed me they remain where they are, yet wonder is movable. The bouquet lady rearranges stems, fingers gentle but practiced. A single raindrop slips through a cracked window, lands on a petal, stays. It glitter rests there, tiny crystal lantern to light some future apology. We glide past an unattended platform, signboard letters half missing, clock stopped at 11:11. Superstition pricks at me. I silently wish every sleeper a softer morning. Sometimes kindness feels most possible when no one can hear it spoken. The tweed gentleman has drifted off, pocket watch balanced on his knee. Its chain glints with quiet dignity, swinging slightly with each rail joint. I resist the urge to steady it. Movement is the nature of both time and trains. An engine whistle unfurls, low and prolonged, floating across drenched meadows. Cattle may lift their heads, curious, then settle again into the damp grass. Even their slow breathing seems part of this shared nocturne. I close my journal, letting blank pages cradle untold thoughts. Words can wait until morning. Silence tutors better now. Breath after breath, the rails teach cadence, patient, unbroken. Outside, the rain thins into scattered pearls, each drop distinct. They land softly, like careful punctuation guiding a sentence toward rest. The glass cools under my fingertips. I count heartbeats, lose track, begin again. Regrets surface. Missed birthdays, letters unsent, affection rationed too strictly. The train does not judge. Its only response is forward motion. I decide that tomorrow movement will belong to me as well. Somewhere ahead, old signals lean beside the track, paint flaked, lenses fogged. They glow amber through the drizzle, relics still devoted to guidance. I nod to them as we pass, grateful for guardians that ask nothing in return. The sketching teen finally closes his pad, satisfied with incompletion. He rests his head against the window, mouth forming a half smile, as if hearing applause from a distant room. The bouquet lady's eyes are closed now, flowers tilt toward her chin, their fragrance mingling with wool, rain, faint scent of brewed coffee long gone. I imagine the reunion ahead softening under that gentle perfume. The hum beneath us lowers, tempo easing, encouraging eyelids everywhere to descend. I match my breathing to the wheels, 4 counts in, 6 counts out. Each exhale smoothing another wrinkle in the mind's fabric. Fog thickens, wraps the train in gauze, muffling even the whistle. We become a thought sliding through a sleeping world, nearly weightless. I feel gratitude rise, quiet and round, with no demand for audience. Soon, dawn will unknot her pale hair over distant hills. For now, darkness offers one more lullaby, sung by rusted signals, accompanied by rain that knows exactly when to fade. I let vision blur, muscles loosen, intentions dissolve. Dreams wait just beyond the next curve, arms open, patient. I step toward them without standing, carried forward by steel, by night, by rain's final hush. Night gathers close around the carriage, gentle as wool pulled over trembling shoulders. Rain has become a faint mist, no longer drumming, only brushing the roof in soft breaths. The wheels keep their even hymn, a muted chant that seems to polish the darkness until it shines. I sit by the window, forehead near the cold pane, eyes half-lidded. Beyond the glass, pastures scroll by in blurred ribbons of indigo. Occasional fence posts blink under the cabin lights, then fold back into fog like actors exiting a stage. Inside, the lighting has dimmed again, an almost secret glow. Everyone moves more slowly now, even in sleep. Dreams appear to weigh nothing, yet they anchor bodies so completely. A young mother rocks an infant wrapped in a knitted blanket the color of sea foam. The baby's tiny fist opens, closes, as if needing the air for reassurance. I watch them with quiet admiration. There is patience in that rhythmic sway, an unspoken vow that whatever miles remain will pass gently. I imagine the child later, years from this moment, unable to recall the ride yet still comforted by rain on windows. A station looms ahead, name half hidden by vines. Old brick shines darkly under a single lamp. We do not stop. We only drift beside the platform long enough to glimpse a wooden bench varnished by weather. I picture an elderly couple once waiting there, thermos between them, sharing silence thicker than conversation. The train tilts into a new curve, and water on the window slides sideways, drawing diagonal threads of silver. Those threads remind me of the thin necklace my sister wore on her wedding day. It glimmered each time she laughed, catching light like a small comet. That day felt endless then. In memory it fits inside one quiet breath. A whistle sounds, low and resonant, drifting over fields that must be fragrant with wet clover. Sheep, perhaps startled, may lift soft faces toward the noise, then nod back into their own stillness. Animals grasp the wisdom of returning quickly to calm, something humans relearn slowly, if at all. Across the aisle, a man in a navy raincoat turns a fountain pen between elegant fingers. He has balanced an open journal on his lap but has yet to write. Ink waits at the tip, expectant, reflecting the dim cabin light in one trembling bead. I wonder if words will come to him tonight or if blankness will be his honest companion. He closes the journal without writing, rests the pen inside, and sighs as though relieved. Perhaps silence is the only entry some nights require. I feel kinship in that choice. Not every memory needs translation. Mist thickens outside, swirling around telegraph poles like slow smoke. Old wires sag between them, carrying messages long obsolete. Yet they remain, reminding the dark that someone once insisted on staying connected. A memory slides in. My grandfather tuning a shortwave radio, searching for voices across oceans. Crackling static filled his workshop, but he smiled whenever a faint greeting emerged from a distant coast. He told me signals never truly disappear. They travel outward forever, simply weakening. I think of that now, each moment on this train already radiating into tomorrow, softer, but still there. The mother hums a lullaby I don't recognize, a melody simple as rain. The tune curls around us like steam from a forgotten mug, warming edges thought too cold to soften. I find myself breathing in time with her song, letting the rhythm unclench something in my chest. Outside the glass, a river appears, restless yet quiet, reflecting stray cabin lights as elongated stars. For several seconds, water and sky merge into one inked ribbon, the train suspended between them. Feels like crossing a thought before deciding what it means. We leave the river behind. Willow branches drip silver tears into the wake of our passing. I notice my reflection overlaid upon the dark landscape, eyes bright yet distant. Travel rewrites identity moment to moment, each mile erasing a trace while inscribing another. The raincoat man has fallen asleep, pen still in hand, fingers slack. Ink blotches bloom on his cuff like midnight flowers, unplanned but strangely lovely. Perhaps tomorrow he will smile at the stain, a small proof that night had its own idea of art. A conductor glides down the aisle, footsteps muffled, coat brushing seats with a hush. He pauses, adjusts a blanket on an elderly woman's shoulders, then continues. His care is brief, almost invisible, yet it lingers in the air like incense. We begin a long straight stretch, and the hum beneath us deepens. I align my breathing with that hum. Inhale on 4 counts, exhale on 6. The pattern settles thought into sand at the bottom of clear water. Miles pass unnoticed until a distant silo appears, its metal skin gleaming under scattered moonlight. An owl might perch there, head swiveling as our windows flash by. I like to think the owl counts trains the way children count shooting stars, assigning them quiet wishes. The mother finally dozes, chin against her baby's crown, song complete without needing an ending. I watch their twin breaths for several heartbeats, then allow my gaze to blur. Vision blurs further, internal landscapes surfacing. A beach at dusk, a forgotten letterbox, the scent of library dust. Thought grows porous, words drift apart. Rain has ended entirely, only droplets clinging to the glass remain, trembling from the train's subtle motion. Each droplet catches stray reflections, lamps passing signals, the faint moon, and releases them again, patient scatterers of borrowed light. Another announcement whispers that our next stop lies an hour ahead. Few passengers stir. We are committed to the drift. I decide to close my eyes, trusting wheels, tracks, mist, and the slow lantern of memory to guide me. As lids lower, sound stretches thin. The hum, the distant whistle, a lingering note of that lullaby. All merge into one sustaining chord, deep and forgiving. I slip into it like stepping into warm water at night, star reflections shivering around ankles. In that water I float, weightless, holding nothing, releasing everything. The train continues, precise yet tender, through countryside now invisible. And somewhere in the gentle dark between unmarked stations, sleep reaches out, palms open, steady. I take its hand, grateful, letting every unspoken word settle into silence, where it can glow without pressure until dawn unties the sky. Rain glances off the carriage roof, a faint hushing shiver. Its cadence feels older than language, teaching patience with every tap. The lamps overhead have dimmed again, almost amber velvet now, their glow turning the aisle into a dusky hallway of nested sighs. Beyond the window, fields loosen into wide moorland, heather and rush darkening under mist, dotted by shy puddles of starlight. Low clouds hang like an unfinished sketch, charcoal smears across indigo. We cross a set of points, wheels offer a muted chorus, 2 notes, then 1, then a soft resolving hum. I match my breathing to that quiet refrain until thoughts drift slower. A lone station blinks by, Cinder Moor Road. No platform roof, just a weather-beaten clock and a single lamp. The clock's hands rest at midnight regardless of true hour, a permanent permission slip to forget lateness and lean into now. Across from me, a university student pores over a star chart. Faint constellations glow blue on thin paper, edges curled with use. He traces lines from Cassiopeia to Perseus with a tired thumb, then leans back, letting eyelids flutter like shutters against gentle wind. I imagine his room, ceiling plastered with glow-in-the-dark stickers. A telescope near the window, half-filled coffee cooling by the sill. Perhaps tonight's cloud cover disappoints him. Clouds rarely consult astronomers. Yet the chart still comforts, a map to somewhere always shining. We enter a shallow cutting. Sandstone walls rush closer. Wet rock glimmering under headlamps like dull copper coins. Watery trickles thread down grooves, merging into miniature waterfalls that vanish before reaching the ballast below. A memory floats up, camping by a creek at 14, fireflies hovering over water, sparks echoing the Milky Way overhead. My brother pointed out Orion while marshmallows browned, saying constellations were just stories we pinned onto nothing, because we feared losing ourselves in the dark. Tonight, I do not fear. The dark feels like velvet lining in a treasured box. The student folds his chart, tucks it into a canvas satchel, then settles deeper, head cushioned by a rolled hoodie. In the faint glow, I notice small ink stains on his fingers, tiny galaxies he's carried off the paper and into waking life. Another passenger, a quiet woman 2 rows ahead, turns pages of a weathered travel diary. Her handwriting slants like reeds in warm wind, quick, assured, but softened by years of rereading. She pauses, touches a clipped train ticket taped beside a paragraph, smiles with that secret recognition only memory can supply, then closes the book as if folding wings for the night. We roll onto an elevated embankment. To the east, a reservoir spreads, dark glass mirroring single pinpricks of village light. Each bulb ripples, becomes a slow comet, disappears beneath gentle waves. I rest my temple against the cold pane, letting silence seep through. The conductor walks by, voice lowered to almost nothing. He checks no reservations, merely ensures we share the same hush. His presence feels like a lighthouse beam, appearing, receding, a rhythm that reassures without lingering. Outside, sheep huddle beside a dry stone wall, their wool halos faintly illuminated by our passing. They lift heads for a second, ears twitching, then resume the serene business of standing still. Even their patience feels instructive, a lesson in easy being. A distant radio crackle reaches the cab, reporting clear track ahead and mild weather through dawn. The engineer answers with one soft syllable, then powers down to a gentler throttle. The hum sinks, turning into the kind of sound pillows adore. Night grows deeper, yet also lighter inside. Regret loosens its belt, sits back, closes its eyes. Hopes kick off their shoes, wiggle toes into plush carpet. Both agree to postpone conversation until morning tea. We slow for Westbrook halt, a platform no longer than 2 dining tables. Moss climbs the wooden posts, paint flakes like snow in reverse. No one boards, but the doors open anyway, letting a swirl of peat-scented air swirl through the aisle. In that draft I catch something sweet, maybe distant gorse blossom, a reminder that even midnight fields can hold daylight in reserve. Doors sigh closed, wheels resume their mantra, a steady percussion spaced wider, softer, slower. The diary keeper marks her place with a pressed daisy, then lets the book slip into her lap as eyelids descend. I reflect on how every traveler here carries private constellations. Ink flecks, ticket stubs, pressed petals, all tiny stars, charting invisible paths between past and possible. Within this carriage, galaxies overlap without collision, each orbit respectful of the neighboring silence. Rain slackens, becoming mere mist, individual drops too shy to sound their landing. The roof now whispers more than it drums, the sort of hush that invites deeper surrender. We enter a tunnel carved through living rock. Darkness so complete our reflections replace the world outside. For 30 seconds I watched my own faint outline, floating over dim aisle bulbs, a ghost between mirrors, and I feel surprisingly whole, edges softened by shared quiet. Emerging, we greet another valley, where dawn's first ash-blue breath hints along the rim. Horizon lines smear gently upward, as if someone smudged pastel chalk with a warm thumb. But morning is still an hour away, and night, generous elder, leaves us the last of her lullaby. I close my eyes, trusting the tracks to remember the way. Heartbeat slows to match the widening spaces between rail joints, each click another tiny star pinned to unseen sky. Thoughts fade, map folds, lamps dim, the entire carriage drifting like a mild meteor through the soft, unhurried darkness of countryside and dream. Soft rain resumes, hushed and even, as though night needed a quieter verse. Droplets tap the roof in delicate countertime to the wheels below, 2 gentle metronomes agreeing not to rush the hours. Outside, the countryside rolls past like ink dissolving in water. Hedges melt into dark rivulets, ponds shine like forgotten mirrors, and every so often a wind-bent willow bows, acknowledging our passage. Cabin lights remain dim, the color of candle ends. They cast mellow halos that seem to hover rather than shine. Within that amber hush, each passenger becomes a peaceful silhouette. Across from me, a university student flips through flashcards, lips shaping silent definitions that never quite leave her mouth. After a while, her hand slows, cards droop, and one slips to the floor, landing face up with a single word: resilience. She lets it lie there, perhaps trusting sleep to do the final round of studying. Farther down the aisle, a middle-aged couple share a crossword torn from a magazine. Their whispers skate across clues, half-guesses, shy laughter. A pencil circles something, then pauses. They trade a grin satisfied with close enough. I envy the ease with which imperfect answers can feel complete. The train glides over a cattle grid. Metal thuds echo like muffled bells. For a breath the carriage vibrates, then settles into its steady murmur. I lean my head against the cool glass, forehead greeting rain-cooled certainty. Beyond the window, a narrow lane appears, wet asphalt shining beneath occasional lamp glow. Tire puddles reflect shaky constellations. Every reflection breaks, then reforms behind us. I think of all the things we lose and regain differently. Confidence, old songs, the taste of first snow. A childhood fragment surfaces, folding paper moons in a classroom twilight, hanging them by thread from ceiling tiles that creaked when the heater coughed awake. Our teacher called them drift lanterns, hoping we'd learn phases by heart. Most of us simply loved the sway, how orbit could be imitated by a single breath. The student yawns, flashcards forgotten. She gathers them clumsily into a rubber band cocoon. One card still lies on the floor, resilience staring upward like a small instruction. I stoop, retrieve it, place it atop her stack. She smiles without fully waking, the simple reflex of gratitude already rehearsed. Rain thickens, striking glass in louder clusters before dissolving again. Outside, a grain silo looms, its corrugated skin glistening under trackside floodlights. Bold graffiti reads, "Love outlasts rust, letters running where paint met storm." I wonder who climbed that height just to declare patience to the night. The crossword couple tucked the page away, fingers entwining as if to save the solved clues for later retelling. Their heads touch, creating a small bridge of quiet electricity. Human contact can be the softest engine, driving nothing yet moving everything. At the coach's end, a tall man polishes a brass pocket compass, thumbs circling the glass in rhythm with the wheels. He checks its needle though our path is clearly fixed. Perhaps inward bearings matter more than geographic ones tonight. We slow near a disused station, brickwork mottled, sign stripped of paint. A single platform lamp flickers, illuminating posters whose dates expired years ago. The doors never open. Still, the train pauses just long enough for silence to board. In that pause, I hear my own breath join the hush. Feel shoulders unclench, thoughts spread wider than their usual corridors. When we start again, motion returns like a favorite refrain, softer, inevitable. I think about the way life moves forward even in stillness. How dreams ferment in quiet barrels, how seeds under snow rehearse spring. Perhaps journeys at midnight are rehearsal spaces for change. Rail lines lending momentum while hearts practice letting go. Somewhere above cloud cover, moonlight stains the vapor gold, though down here we receive only diluted hints. That subtle glow is enough. Puddles turn to liquid pewter, and every raindrop on the pane resembles a traveling star. The student now sleeps, head resting on a backpack embroidered with mountains. I hope her dreams place her at those summits, vocabulary fluent in wind. The compass man closes his palm over the instrument, settles back, and the crossword couple breathe in tandem, puzzle complete, night uncluttered. My own eyelids weigh pleasantly, tethered by rhythm and rain. I allow images to dim, paper moons, graffiti on metal, a single flashcard. Each slides into shadow, friendly, unrushed. Ahead, a distant signal glows green inside its rusted hood. An ancient traffic light willing to stand vigil until dawn. I accept its permission to drift, trusting steel, mist, and the steady creak of rails. Breath by breath, the world narrows to pulse, hum, and quiet joy. Sleep approaches from the aisle like a considerate conductor. Checking nothing, simply nodding that my ticket is valid for rest. I close my eyes. Rain becomes a soft curtain shutting out the stage lights. Wheels turn pages slower and slower until even the commas of track joints lengthen. And in that long exhale of silver miles, I finally let go. joining every other soul in this moving lullaby, carried forward by the drift of unseen paper moons toward a morning still content to wait. Rain drifts against the windows in soft, intermittent sighs, as though the sky itself has grown contemplative. Each drop lands, pauses, then slides, leaving fine trails that vanish before they reach the sill. The carriage responds with its faithful hum, a pulse beneath our feet that feels older than any of us. Outside, low hills blur into a single shade of blue-black, their outlines softened by mist. A lone windbreak of poplars appears, tall, unwavering, then slips away like a sentence half-spoken. For a mindful moment, I imagine each trunk holding stories the earth whispered up through its roots. Inside, the cabin light is almost reluctant, hovering at a twilight glow that flatters every closed eyelid. A young man in a charcoal hoodie leans over a sketchbook, pencil moving in slow circles. He seems to be shading clouds, yet the page holds only an unfinished portrait, perhaps of someone he has yet to meet. Across the aisle, an elderly woman counts prayer beads, lips forming syllables too soft to hear. She pauses at the end of every loop, letting the rhythm settle before starting again. Faith, it seems, adapts easily to motion, finding sanctuary even on steel tracks. We cross a small iron bridge. Water below glimmers in scattered reflections of cabin light. I picture that river remembering every train that has passed, cataloging them like distant constellations. Memory doesn't always need clarity. Sometimes a shimmer is enough. The sketching man tears the page from his pad, folds it carefully, and tucks it into an interior pocket. I wonder if it's a letter to someone he loves, disguised as art to protect its tenderness. Perhaps tomorrow he'll unfold it in sunlight and realize the portrait is a mirror. Rain grows gentler still, individual drops audible now, like soft fingers on a drum. I think of my childhood bedroom, roof slanted under storms, how every tap felt like a coded message. Back then, I believed the sky spoke directly to anyone willing to stay awake and listen. The prayer bead woman sets her rosary aside, closes her eyes, and smiles at something unseen. Maybe she has finished the prayer she started decades ago, finding the final amen in this drifting night. A quiet resolution hangs around her like lavender, calming even the restless fibers of upholstery. The train eases into a curve. Wheels sing a gentle, descending note, almost a bow. We pass an orchard, its bare branches stark against a faint lamp beyond. In spring those limbs will burst into white blossom, but tonight they stand unclothed, trusting warmer days to return. Trust, how easily it hides in plain motion. We entrust our weight to cushions, our distance to rails, our futures to timetables we never drafted. I inhale slowly, realizing my breath has already matched the cadence of the track. A conductor appears, hat in hand, checking no tickets, merely strolling as caretaker of hush. He adjusts a curtain left ajar, tucks a blanket around a sleeping child whose book has slipped to the floor. Then, with a nod to the carriage itself, he retreats, footsteps absorbed by layers of midnight carpet. In the window's faint reflection, I catch my own face superimposed on dark meadows. Lines softened, eyes half-lidded, I look like a traveler halfway between waking and some long-postponed dream. Perhaps journeys are mirrors held at just the right angle to show us kinder versions of ourselves. The train slows near an unlit siding. Outside, a disused water tower looms, streaked with rust and rain. Its ladder glints momentarily under our lights, hinting at journeys once fueled by steam. Even relics hold their breath when we pass, remembering purpose, accepting rest. Inside, someone murmurs a half-formed sentence, slips back into sleep, leaving the words to wander alone. Those loose phrases feel like feathers floating down the aisle, gentle, aimless, finally settling in silence. I recall an evening years ago, different train, different country, when I watched snow replace rain. Flakes gathered on the glass until the world beyond blurred into a single forgiving whiteness. That memory flickers now, cool and distant, reminding me that weather is the earth's lullaby, ever-changing, ever-soothing. The sketching man closes his eyes, pencil still balanced between fingers. A faint graphite smudge marks his cheek. I imagine it as a stowaway cloud, resting before continuing its sketch of dawn. We approach another small station, lamps dim, timetable poster peeling at the corners. The doors stay shut, yet the train hesitates as if paying respects to all the departures that once began here. Then, almost apologetically, we roll on, carrying those untaken journeys within us. A subtle shift in engine tone tells me we are descending, rails dipping toward lower ground. Outside, fog thickens, swirling in our wake like ghostly silk. I watch it wrap each fence post, each thistle, leaving jeweled droplets grieving under scant moonlight. Thought floats to people I haven't called in too long. A cousin who sends postcards, a friend who never forgot birthdays. Regret brushes my chest, but the rain's cadence assures me it's not too late. Water makes ancient shapes of new paths. So can apologies, so can renewed hellos. The beat-counting woman resumes her cycle, only now her fingers move slower as though winding down a clock. Her calm seeps outward, settling over luggage, seats, windows, an invisible blanket. Cabin warmth mingles with cool glass. My eyelids descend, rise, descend again. Between blinks, scenes flicker. An autumn fair, the scent of oranges, the sound of my father's whistle in distant halls. None demand clarity, they simply visit, wave, and fade. Outside, signals glow green, then vanish into rolling dark. Their assurance is steady, continue, continue, continue. I follow their advice inward, breathing longer, deeper, letting muscles learn the language of rest. Somewhere ahead, the horizon already holds a pale seam of future light, though clouds keep it hidden. The train presses on without haste, quiet sovereign of this narrow midnight kingdom. I allow thoughts to thin until only three remain: rain, motion, peace. They ripple across consciousness like stones skipping once, twice, then sinking. Breath stretches, wheels soften, even memory dims its lantern. I close my eyes fully, trusting the conductor, the tracks, the patient cadence of water on steel. And as the rails slip forward in a final whisper, I feel sleep arrive, slow, certain, expansive, ready to carry me the last gentle miles to morning.